So you want to be a toy collector? Well, I fucking bet you do. The captain didn't pay attention in the video he just shot, even though we already have our bottle of water in there, can of water, because I fucking ran out of time. So we're gonna just jump into this. This is called Do You Want to Be a Toy Collector? You bet your sweet dick you do. Tape your nipples together, babies, because here we go. I'm gonna focus in right there real quick. Alright, so since this is part 2, we're gonna get fucking crazy, we're gonna get lenient. It's not even part 2, it's really just part 1, 2.0 Electric Boogaloo, because I didn't have enough time and the video cut short. Like it always happens with me, we know how it is. But number 1, we're gonna start it. Okay, so we're talking about toy collecting today. I figure it'll be a cool start to kind of give a brief explanation of me. What you're staring at right now is a hologram R2D2 model kit, Bandai, that I put together because I had it and I didn't really touch it for months, which is weird for me. This is also, one of those old dinosaurs from, doesn't say made in Hong Kong, but maybe late 70s, early 80s. I just airbrushed it in a multicolor thing because I kind of wanted to try the airbrush stuff and get that Sophie look, and I think it turned out pretty damn good. I'd done this a while ago, years ago. I was just trying holographic paints, metallic paints, really, to see how it turned out. And I'm actually really proud of this one, I must say, for first time trying. But anyway, so what we're here today is we want to talk about collecting toys. Let's talk about myself. We'll start off. I was born in the butt end of the 80s, 88. So I grew up with my father's influence of everything 70s and 80s prior to me. My first toy collection was Ninja Turtles. That eventually worked into Power of the Force, 95, 96, when that came out, Star Wars, which I already knew. I watched Star Wars movies prior, the original trilogy, so it wasn't like a, who am I getting? Because I've played with my dad's toys, and I had some hand-me-downs. I still do have some of his 70s toys into the 80s. After that, for me personally, was Dragon Ball and Spawn. McFarlane, when he was doing just toys from the comic books. If you guys remember, it was a Spawn toy. I think you had articulation in the legs. Arms and head were kind of your, up and down, left and right. But it came with a comic book. That was exciting. And then that moved on to everything. McFarlane was a big part of my life. We're going to take a journey. Don't mind any of the sights you might see in this basement. I am currently going through my storage unit and bringing more stuff in. And I'll be selling a lot of stuff soon. Because, to take room, you got to make room. But, we'll give a brief little look at some of the stuff here. You'll see some of these influences. Ninja Turtles, of course. G.I. Joe, Marvel. You still have some old Marvel, I played with that. There's some of my original, there's my Slash growing up, my Super Shredder, Tox Crusader toys, Iron Giant's new one, but the influences stay, and my toy collecting kind of grew in the years. I did do some Gundam model kits back when Gundam Wing was a big thing. There was a store in the mall that sold them. I'm not a fan of the old ones. I don't like a model kit. They have to paint a lot unless it's meant to be all painted. If it's all white, I'm fine with it. You got some Tron in there. The newer G.I. Joes, the zombies, I had to get them. You have a Samurai or Ronin Warriors for us, Samurai Troopers, whatever. Of course, Ninja Turtles and model kits. I mean, that's a big part of my collecting now, which is ironic because I started off with Gundam Wing. We really didn't get Gundam until the end, kind of. Toonami, at least for me, with my age. And of course, like Godzilla, Ultraman, my dad didn't watch that stuff. Raideen I have, and that was because I have my dad's Shogun Raideen, which worked into, Mazinga, Jag, Getter, Ultraman I watched. Mega Man I played as a kid. Tekken, I have the Kazuya over there. More model kits. Dragon Ball, which is a meaty part of my collection. I mean, I wish I can get it all into one section. It's a lot to take in. I could spread it out more. These are packed. I kind of like the Japanese style of collecting, where if you really look at they really utilize their space. You'll see some collections where guys have collections my size, but they spread them out where it's one by one by one, so it looks really big. Um, but sometimes it's not. It's just the way it is. But I'll talk about my pet peeve on that a little bit later too, once we sit down. I just want to, let your eyes kind of soak in my journey of stuff, which of course is Godzilla, Gamera. You have some monsters in my pocket up there, Mighty Max, which was a big thing when I was a kid. Another big thing, a part of my life too. I have tattoos of this. Horror. My first movie that I can remember is Friday 13th Part 2, when Jason jumps through the window at the end. The Mongoloid Jason, no mask, just hillbilly leaping through the window, scared the shit out of me. And, you know, horror has always been a part of my life, always will be. I watch this shit just to watch something. We got there's Power Rangers back there. Is another big thing in my life. You'll see Pokemon throughout stuff, and you'll see all kind of stuff going on here. I was part of the Pokemon craze when that started over here. Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, stuff like that. Even down there, we got the vintage, 12 more than 12-inch Chewbacca, and then that Venom, which was their vinyls. That was back in the day. There was a comic book store I went to. I remember when my dad bought that, seeing the Max FX Freddy from Matchbox. And I remember saying to myself, like, man, you never saw Freddy without his face on, what the hell is that? Some guy. And to me it was, but it was also generic. So I didn't, associate Robert Englund with that figure because it wasn't Robert Englund. It was just some dude, generic G.I. Joe face. And I had one in the blister many years later unopened, but I sold it because we'll talk about that too. Toys come and go. It is what it is. It's a part of collecting. You keep some stuff, you sell some stuff. That's the cool part about the game. This is my Gamera. This is a curio of curiosities. There's some Transformers on top, but so we'll go back down. My collecting's evolved over years. McFarlane, for me, once that kind of spread past the basics, was really a pioneer. If you look at a lot of NECA, a lot of the toy companies today, McFarlane back in the day was the one doing it. Movie Maniacs was a big fucking deal. And the sculptors and painters were talented guys. I mean, when people think of NECA right now, think of if it was that in the late 90s into the early 2000s. That's really what McFarlane was. It paved the way. As they say today, McFarlane ran so these companies could walk. That's the honest to God truth. I know McFarlane's been making a little bit of a comeback, and they stopped and dropped for years. They were doing like sports shit. But in the heyday of McFarlane, there was no better toys you can get. If you're really looking for horror toys that nobody did, or just even some of their own toy lines and sculpts, and I mean, they did a whole anime toy line. There was Trigun, Akira, Ghost in the Shell. Like, they really, really were pioneers. And you got your bang for the buck back then. It's crazy to say now that was a top-of-the-line shit, but there were points where that was top-line shit. And then Art Asylum stepped into the game, and there's a lot of companies that came and went amongst the years. But we're talking about toy collecting. So, the basis is, do you want to be a toy collector? Are you a toy collector? Do you hate toy collectors? Do you just want to know about toy collecting without doing it yourself? Well, I'll try to touch base on as much little things I could. This is all my personal opinions. Some toy collectors are going to go, man, you hit the nail on the head because it's universal thought. And then there's a lot of things that are kind of per collector. So we'll start off with, how realistic is it? The realism of it is, it comes off as an expensive hobby, which it could. Don't get me wrong. I've been personally in months where I was fucking spending $1,200 a month, literally, on toys, and I was amassing quickly. Or I was buying expensive shit, so it was still amassing slowly, but they were expensive pieces. But I was speaking earlier about a pet peeve, especially with Dragon Ball, is the new thing is that I'm not a fan of, and I'm not taking away from people that do it. I just personally don't like it. Is there are Dragon Ball Z statues? That's like the new thing. They're cheap for what they are. Size 2. They're readily available if you get your hands on them when they come out. Um, and people tend to build a big collection fairly quickly because you're not really spending a lot of money to do so. And they're big, so you can space them out, and you can fill a fucking room for a fairly reasonable price. I have a room filled. This room filled is a lot more than a couple $1,000s. But a couple $1,000s on Dragon Ball statues, you can have a room as big as mine filled. But I stack my shelves Japanese style. It's not one guy just next to each other, just next to each other. I mean, you can even look. It's just I call it controlled chaos. It's clutter, but it's there. It flows. I don't like collecting like that personally because you're online. That's really it. People like that, especially newer collectors, and I hate to say, I don't want to take away from you. Collecting is collecting. Do what you want to do. Collect how you want to collect. But I do think older collectors need a little bit of respect. I see a lot of people like shitting on people in fucking forums, especially older collectors. They try. Listen, you guys don't know what it's like when there was no fucking internet, and you had to drive from Kmart to Target to Walmart to Ames to Hills to this store to that store. You had to go to different townships and cities on hunts on your fucking weekends to get toys. You'd visit, realistically, some people 7 or 8 fucking Walmarts in a day to find shit. Nobody has that grind anymore. Collecting has changed a little bit because it's easy to buy offline. And just like a human hunting, there is a thrill to actually physically hunting your toys down. Now, it is a little bit different nowadays. There are toys that I have to buy offline. I can't buy them anywhere else. That's all there is to it. I don't have specialty stores. For me, for some of the specialized shit I collect is Japanese based. So it's a toss bag, but I tell you what, I would give anything. I would trade 20 days of hunting than going online one day and getting something. Unless I had no choice but to get it online. If I had a choice of going to the store, I would rather spend a month or two of hunting multiple stores looking for it before I resort to online. But that's me. I grew up that way. I used to, the job I worked, I would go in our local Toys R Us. I worked Thursdays. I'd go in Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. I'd take the company vehicle over to Toys R Us, open at 10. I'd walk through those doors the minute they opened, and I'd go scout through, buy shit I needed or wanted, and I'd drive my ass right over to Target, which wasn't far away, and I'd do the same shit. And then throughout the day, I'd stop at Walmart. Luckily, I was doing a delivery thing, and I worked for the owner of the company. He didn't care about stuff like that. I had a luxury. But due to that luxury of that, I was able to get cherry pieces at the time for myself. They might not be as cherry. A lot of it was Star Wars at the time because that was my heavy collecting. But go out there and fucking enjoy that shit. Find some like used toy stores near you. I have one up here near me in New York. Sometimes the guy is eBay prices. Sometimes he sells like ridiculous shit for dirt cheap. I mean, I bought a Voltron Witch, a pretty good condition for like $5. And then I go in there and see, Mass Universe Origin Scareglow for 40 the same day. So it's kind of like, your priorities are eBay, what's hot, eBay prices, what's not hot, I don't give a shit. Dollar box type stuff. I personally am also not a focus collector. I like Dragon Ball Z. I don't like every single character in Dragon Ball Z, so I'm not buying every single character in Dragon Ball Z. I love Gundam, but I don't love every Gundam. I don't have to buy every Gundam. Even the hot ones, everybody wants this, that. I don't do it. There's Gundam shows that I haven't watched. I own a few suits from, but for the most part, like just regular Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam, if you look at my collection, it's RX-78, and the rest of it is Zeon. It's Zaku's, Zeong is up there, any kind of suit like that. But because those are the suits I like, I don't like Gun Cannon, I don't like Gun Tank. They're not in my fucking collection. You're not going to see them in there. But that's me. Some people focus collect. Some people need to complete collections. And maybe that I'm getting to that point where I'm older now is where I feel like unknowingly some of my collections are complete. close to complete where I should polish them off. But what I will say is, and this is my own personal take, and hindsight is 2020. If I was to complete a collection, like the Dragon Ball Z Super Battle Collection is, or Dragon Ball Super Battle Collection is kind of a goal of mine to complete someday. I don't have anything out of it, to be honest with you, but I want to do it. I think it'd be a fun journey. I think it'd be a cool, just cool thing for me to do. You know, part of the hobby of collecting. But what I honestly would do personally, being somebody who has bought in all the cheaper pieces and then sat and looked at the most expensive, I'd probably buy the most expensive pieces first, because it'd be like being at the top of a roller coaster, and then the rest of it's the smooth sailing downhill. Because I know I found myself buying all the cheap, you know, basic ones, not spending a lot of money, and I come up to the ones that are rare, and I'm like, you know, I got like 5 figures for this price, or even 3 or 4 figures. Why the fuck am I going to spend that on one? But if you just knock that out of the park, you can amass and complete your collection quicker, in my opinion, because if, you know, you spend 500, let's say, on one guy, really, you're getting the rarest one. You're just fucking diving your dick right in. And then you look at the other ones and you go, well, you know, there's 5 for $20. Really think about what you're spending on that. You're getting 5 for, you know, that price, instead of, or even more. You know, you're spending $500. You're really fucking cooking. But that's me. But that's also if you're serious. You know, if you want to dip your toes, buy shit you like. There's the age-old question of why we collect. What is it? My girlfriend words it the best. I don't understand. It just goes on a shelf and collects dust, which realistically it does. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. Even if you dust your shelves, just the analogy of it is true. It's gonna sit on a goddamn shelf and collect dust. That's really what it's doing. But there's many aspects. You know, as a kid or even as an adult, you watch a movie and you watch a kung fu movie, you're probably doing some kung fu moves afterwards. You don't know fucking kung fu, but you're retaining what you saw. You liked it. You're in the mood. As a kid, imagine that. You know what I mean? You want to dress up as Iron Man for Halloween because you really love Iron Man. Well, now imagine having an Iron Man toy. You know, it really changes that. It puts that more into a physical aspect of, you're not watching this on screen, you're holding it in your hand. And you can do with that Iron Man toy whatever you want. And kids have a lot better nowadays, especially with multi-articulated toys and shit like that, because there was no multi-articulation when I was a fucking kid. I mean, Spawn, but his legs had joints, but the arms and head were basic. You know, you're looking at 5-point articulation at that. I mean, G.I. Joe prior to me had it, but that wasn't a big thing in my life. I watched G.I. Joe. I collect newer G.I. Joes throughout the years after that, but that's what collecting to me is. That nostalgia that you take, you can put in a physical form. There are characters that maybe you connect with, you really fucking like, or this or that. You can get a toy of that. And it's hard if you're not a collector and don't have that mindset to really understand it. And listen, there's times where I come down here in this basement, in my den, where I spend, you know, 70% of my time upstairs. There's times I just come down here and just hang out. I'll just come in here and just walk around a little bit, soak it in, and leave. Because I just almost, if not every day, every other day, am I down here with this collection, because I've spent so much time and effort getting it to where I want it to be, and I'm still not done. And you know what? One day I'll be done. And the other aspect of toy collecting is some pieces, whether you realize it or not, are investment. A lot of vinyl, for some reason, Godzilla vinyl, Gamera vinyl, Ultraman, that's one of those ones where if you're really looking for investment pieces, don't go to the Americanized shit of like fucking, you know, Master Universe Origins. The line is cool as shit. I mean, look at Scareglow when it first came out, but look at Scareglow now. You know, now that people have lost the hype over it, there's something about vinyls that it seems like they only increase in price. I haven't bought a vinyl toy where I can look at now. There's not a single one on my shelf, and I had a respectable collection at one point in time. I sold a lot, but I still have a pretty respectable collection for what it is. There's not a single one I've bought that I've looked at and I can sell for the same price that I bought. I can't sell any for less than I bought it for. Most of them are sky. There's things I've sold. There's things I've bought for $60. Gamma Rocket Pro, the all orange and painted, which I've talked about this in numerous videos, where I sold those pretty fucking cheap. And I look at my eBay history, and I bought them for $60 a piece in the bag, unbuilt, untouched. I can't touch them now for under $300. That wasn't that many years ago. So, shit like that is a gamble. If I would have known hindsight, I would have never sold them. I still didn't sell them now. I would have just kept them because it wasn't what they were worth. It was, I can replace this easily. There's some things you can't goddamn replace easily, and that's a part of the game. Another part of the game is Grail Pieces. Now, a Grail piece, in my opinion, could either be one, it could be something so fucking rare that you need in your collection that is very hard to come by, or a Grail piece is just something you treasure. One of my Grail pieces, which is uncommon but common with model kits, they'll do an initial run. Sometimes they keep printing them and they don't stop. Sometimes they stop. Sometimes they do a reprint. I've done a video literally on this model kit. One of my Grail pieces is in the back there. I know there's a lot going on. Is that EVA Unit 1. Orange one, it gets it back with a halo. That's the EVA Unit 1 Awakening version. It's the Bandai. I had bought one years ago from Gundam Planet, their old location. They've moved since then in Secaucus, or North Palisades, New York, it's New Jersey. And I bought that when it came out. I didn't even know. It was my first Evangelion model kit. And I sold it at one point when I was moving to New York. And I kicked myself in the ass about it. Me and my cousin used to joke that, and the kid is a buddy of mine, but we used to joke we're going to break in his house and steal that fucking model kit back. Because I was just actually upset about it. And I got lucky and they reprinted it. And, the story goes that I got it and blah, blah. But that's a Grail piece to me. Even if I didn't sell it, it would still be a Grail piece. Just the whole journey of getting it back, new again, makes it a better Grail story for me. And there's other Grail stories. I mean, the first Gamera vinyl I ever bought was the X Plus Nightmare Gamera, the old version. They kind of list in the card. That's a Grail piece. They're not uncommon. You can get them. It's not like you just go on eBay and can't find them. You can find them. But for me, it's a Grail piece, but for different reasons. That was my first one. And my Gamera collection now is pretty fucking respectable. It's not huge, but it's the pieces in it that make it respectable. It's tough to tell in that curio cabinet because it's a mirrored back. But if you really were able to just sit and look in that curio, there's some shit in there you'd go, fucking wow, I can't believe you have this. Or there'd be shit you say you've never even seen. I mean, the Taki Bit Gamera Brave thing, there's very few people I've talked to that even know that exists. It just is what it is. But, it's going to be like that. Collecting's fucking cool. It's a cool thing. And there's points where you're not going to collect. There's points where I've went 3 to 5 years without really buying toys. And there's years where I've bought super heavily. And there's years after that where I've trickled down. I'm kind of now in the what do I really want based off of just buy to get. I had a many year streak of just buy to get. That's why my collection grew so fucking big. I've sold 30-gallon Rubbermaids, fucking 7 or 8 filled of toys. And when you see the video and you go, holy shit, imagine what I would have if I didn't sell. But that's also a part of collecting, sell, trade, whatever. Enjoy it. You might have 2 of something that somebody really wants 1 of that is willing to trade up something you don't have that you want of. It's just, you make it what you wanted to make it. That's the cool thing. Personally, what I could say is don't fall into the fad of what the hype is. Because if you do, you might find yourself in a rabbit hole of just buying stuff you don't want. You're only buying stuff to resell it because everybody wants it, and you're really not becoming a collector. Don't do it for what other people think. Do it for yourself. Some people might hate my collection. It's fucking chaotic. There's shit all over the place, and it's packed on shelves, and it's controlled chaos. It's not messy. The room itself is getting messy because I'm bringing in from my storage unit, and I'm literally the past couple of weeks have been bringing more in and filtering out. But once it's all said and done, this will be clean and crisp in the room. But the perimeter, the shelves, all that is gonna be fucking messy. It's gonna be crazy. But it's not in a bad way. It's just a lot of stuff packed into those shelves because I have a lot of stuff. And I love it. It's controlled chaos. Like I said, I like the Japanese version of collecting. So if you look at a lot of Japanese collectors, they really utilize that space. But they don't have a lot of space to utilize. So they take advantage. And I love it because that really, for me, that shows a fucking collection. Listen, you have a little corner of a room and every goddamn surface is covered. I love that. I respect that because you not only have you amassed a collection, but you have perfected the art of the stacking and utilizing size of figures, biggest ones in the back, little ones up front. If it's a box, you could put some on top of it. Even up here, I mean, these are all my thumbtacks. There's something on top of every single one except for one or two because I couldn't fit them. But these ones, there's shit on them, man. I don't give that. I've utilized my space. I have many space. I have to rearrange to down here to get it better. But I utilize what I can. It's a gamble, I guess, because you really have to decide. It's not a money gamble. It's just decide if you really want to, if you don't. That's really the gamble of it. But once you kind of jump into it, that's it. I've been talking to my cousin a lot, and he's like, he's been at, and I've been at this point, so I get it, where he's like, I'm kind of done collecting, and I want to focus on just more adult things, and which is understandable and respectable. But I think no matter what, once you're a collector, you're always going to be a fucking collector. That's all there is. Listen, you can stop collecting, but they might do something 2 years from now that you're like, I need to have that. And that's all there is to it. You never know. In college, I barely bought shit at all. And I was down there for 2 years. And even when I came back, there was a large stretch when I came back from college. That was 2009 to about 2013 before, and I bought things sprinkled throughout, but like 2013, I'd even say maybe 2014, 15, did I really start getting back into collecting? Truly got back into it. But once I took that little break and dipped my foot back in, it was worse than prior. I collect it harder. I collect it more heavy. I really focused on what I fucking wanted. I was also buying just shit just to buy shit. It was to the point where I wouldn't walk into Walmart and walk out without something. It was bad, I'll say. That don't get to that point because then you're going to be dumping your money. If I look at all the shit I bought, I mean, I was making a lot of money back then at the job I had. I really could have solidified my collection as some crazy rare pieces and really dumped that money into really good shit that, of course, I'm looking at now and over the years. But it's a fucking fun train ride, man. It's like a roller coaster. You're gonna be ups and downs, but if you stay on that cart, you're gonna love it. It's cool. It's neat. If you are friends with other collectors or make friends, go into some Facebook groups. Just jump into groups and look at some of the shit. Talk to those guys, man. Those guys will steer you in the right direction. Stay away from the toxic groups because there are fucking toxic douchebag groups out there where it's just fucking scalpers and assholes defending scalpers. And I'm not going to name any names. There's some prominent fucking names in the toy game that shouldn't be defending guys scalping, but they fucking do. Stay away from clowns like that. Find the communities that are truly respectable and stuff. Go check out Chance Priest and his shit. Check out other YouTube channels. Fucking Tokyo Toy Bastard, Jeremy. He's a cool fucking cat. Check out Theo Kane. He's a cool cat, man. Those guys, You know, they really do. Go check out Hop Toys, Sean Hadley and all them fucking guys, and Brian. Um, they are guys that do respect the game. That, in my opinion, are prominent games. Check out James Osborne with Kaiju. Um, you know, these guys really are people that you should look up to, and check out their pages and journey to them. Look at Andy Peters, man. He's the fucking Hedora King over there. If you're in a Godzilla collecting, check these guys out. You'd be surprised we can learn from these cats. They are peers to me. I have a giant collection. Maybe somebody's going to look up to me or whatever, once people watch this more and kind of get a grasp of who I am. But check those guys out first, because they've been in the game and a lot longer than I have. They're all older than me, all of them. So they've had their foot in the dirt a little bit longer than I have, and they're all respectable people. And I've never seen them treat friends or other collectors in any kind of bad way. They're honest if you want them to be. They won't sugarcoat your shit. They'll help you on your journey if you need help. And they'll steer you in the right direction. Jump into it. It's cool, man. If you don't want to, you don't want to, but there's something about sitting down here, even doing this video, you guys aren't seeing what I'm seeing, even though we've done a loop around the room, but, I'll just give you my right and left perspective as I'm sitting here. As I'm I don't always just look at the camera. When I look to my left and my right, I'm just constantly looking at toys. That's all there is. And it's always going to be, there'll be more. But, and you don't need a big collection like I do. If you want 5 fucking things, buy 5 things and be done. But enjoy it. It's fun. It's a blast. You'll go out and do some hunting too. If you really want to start, go to some stores. Go to Target. Now that we've lost Toys R Us, that's been a heavy blow that a lot of people, still have not come to terms with. Target's kind of made up, but let me tell you what, Toys R Us was that was a different animal, man. So, the odds are against you in a way.